Alan is in Ogden, Utah. Hey, Alan, how are you? I'm pretty good. I'm having trouble hearing you. Try again.
So my fiance is having trouble getting on board with the idea of following the baby steps and living the Dave life. I've been listening to you guys for probably about 2 years now, and I'm for the idea, but it's really hard to get going on it if you don't have a partner who's on board with you. Mm-hmm. Help me help her understand what you're trying to sell.
Okay, what is her problem with this idea?
Well, she heard one podcast you guys did where this guy had that you sold him to sell it and buy something else because it was sinking him. And I saw the logic in what you said. But what she didn't understand is why you told him to ramp it up to $9,000 rather than keep it down at the $3,000 or $5,000 that he was going to spend.
That's not her problem.
And that's what I tried to tell her.
No, that's not. What she heard on a podcast is not the problem. She was looking for an excuse to not do this stuff when she's listening to the podcast. So she found some little nuanced, nothing detail that doesn't even matter to have a reason to throw
that's right.
out the idea of dealing
evidence
with
that Dave is cuckoo, so we can't do this.
Yeah. And there's plenty of evidence that Dave is cuckoo. It's fairly abundant. Not hard to find that if you're looking for it.
We provide it daily.
Yes, we do. It's here. It's 15,000 hours of it in the last few years. But it's all on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of reasons to. And it's not a matter of me as It's not a personal thing in the sense of, ooh, she doesn't like me. That's not the issue. The question is that you guys the two of you have got to sit down and say, okay, what are our goals with money as a couple, and what is the best method to get us to those goals?
See, and I love her to death, but I keep living in debt, and I can't keep living paycheck to paycheck wondering if we're going to have a house.
That wasn't what I said. You're not living in debt anyway because you're not married. It's her problem if you leave her with it. If you get married, now it's your problem. So as a precursor to getting married, the two of you need to set a date after you've gotten some good pre-marriage counseling, which it sounds like you desperately need, and after you've sat down and said, how old are you guys?
We are 30 and 31.
Okay. When you say, when we're 55 years old, where do we want to be with our money, and what is the best method to get there? And you both then answer that question, and you say, hey, I'd like to be out of debt and be very wealthy and be able to be very generous and be able to travel and be able to buy something and not have to worry about it. And this is what you would say, right? And then she can say whatever she wants to say. And you say, okay, what is the best way to get to this dream? And let's make sure our dreams are combined before we combine our lives.
Yep. Alan, I'm going to weigh in here. I want to go a little deeper. Do you both have debt individually?
Yes. She has about $12,000 worth of medical debt, and I have about $1,000 worth of consumer debt.
Okay. Well,
on a budget of about $20,000 a year.
Okay.
But listen, here's the thing. If when you sit down with a marriage counselor in pre-marriage counseling and you say, what do you want to be when we're 55? And she says, oh, I don't know. I just don't want anybody telling me what to do. Dude, you're not marrying a woman. You're marrying a princess, and you need to run.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, Alan. I want to know why she's resisting. You need to know what her resistance is to Dave's thing, and you can have it in the same conversation. And then I'd want to know the why before you go down the aisle, because there's something that she's resisting in what you're telling her, and you're telling her how we teach, and it gets you where I would assume she would agree with the vision that you would want. And so this is so serious, Alan, that to me, I'd press pause on the engagement. I'd press pause on everything until you guys got on the same page about this.
You do it. No, I wouldn't do that. I would just get with a marriage counselor, a pre-marriage counselor immediately, and you guys begin to talk this through.
But what happens if that
may
work?
lead you to pressing pause.
That's what I'm saying.
You need to, but I don't want to just break them up. That's
no,
not,
I don't mean that.
I think you need to go and
I don't mean that.
sit down there and sit down and try to work that through, and let's figure out what we're doing. But if at the end of the day, I have been in situations when I'm coaching couples, and one or the other of them is like pounding their fist, demanding that no limitations be put on them in any way, and that they're allowed to do whatever they want to do, and they're not accountable for the future. They're not accountable to themselves, much less their future spouse, about how we're going to end up. Then what you've got there is someone throwing a temper fit. You got a 4-year-old throwing a temper fit on the cereal aisle because they can't get Cheerios. And this is not marriage material.
No.
And so the old joke is, if a guy marries a girl who loves spending money, you better enjoy making money. But that's not true. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
You can't make enough you can't out-earn somebody who's a super spender.
Yeah, you're playing the
before there were super spreaders, there were super spenders. So
right.
And I don't think this is what's going on with her. I think there's something else. I really don't think she's a bad egg.
I don't either. That's why I want to know what's the resistance and why. I want to know the why.
And it could be
misinformation.
It could be too that you have used me as a weapon on her. And turned me into a cuss word. And you've you've stopped up this conversation, and constipated it. And so you may have to just back away from the Dave thing, because Dave's not relevant in this discussion. The two of you being on the same page about a method of some kind to get to where you want to be, and being on the same page on where you want to be. Now that's vital.
Huge. I'm just going to say it, Dave. I mean, you can correct me if you think it's too strong. I'm just coming from the position of watching couples. And if you aren't on the same page about money, you're playing the marriage lottery. And
you're playing Russian roulette.
And the odds are so against you making
Number one cause of divorce.
Of course. And it's just
money fights and money problems. So if you can't get on the same page about money ahead of marriage, don't get married.
Yeah. And it's going to hurt.
I don't think that's too strong.
Okay.
But I mean, the number one people die of a bear attack is walking down this street. Don't walk down that street. I mean, it's really common sense,
That's a good point.
So, the bears are on that street. They will kill your butt. I mean, it's just like... So this is not hard.
Yeah.
And so, stay off of that. And I saw a statistic the other day that like 37% of the current divorces also mention a spouse looking up an old boyfriend or girlfriend on Facebook.
Oh, boy.
So the second leading cause of divorce is Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm good with getting rid of that, too.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, what could have been? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing going back? I mean, come on now. Yeah.
You just want to be satisfied. That's all. Then you just go, look at that.
That's another problem.
He lost all his hair. Look at that.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
But anyway. Yeah, so all kidding aside, Alan, it's imperative. If you were my son or daughter, I would tell you it's imperative to be on the same page on religion, money, in-laws, and kids.
Yes.
With the help of a pre-marriage counselor before you get married. There's all kinds of data and research that shows those 4 things are your leading indicators to a fabulous, fabulous marriage.
One other little nugget, Dave, because I can't help it. Alan, if you do premarital counseling and she won't give in, don't you give in. Don't you do money the way you don't want to do it just to try to make her happy. That ain't going to work either. Don't capitulate.
Yeah, we got to come to agreement, not concession.
That's what I wanted to point out.